You wake up with a plan. Today is different. Today is the day you finally do the work. You can feel it, that early morning clarity, that quiet moment before the world gets loud. You tell yourself, this time I'll follow through. You got the vision, you've got the goal. You know exactly what needs to be done. But within minutes, the energy fades, the focus drifts, and somehow, without even making a conscious decision, you end up doing everything except what actually matters. You check your phone, you scroll through videos, you reorganize your desk, you make a second cup of coffee you don't need, you respond to messages that could wait, and before you know it, 3 hours have passed, and that important work still untouched, still waiting. And the worst part, you didn't decide to waste those hours. You just drifted into it. Here's the truth nobody ever tells you, and it's the kind of truth that once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Your brain is not on your side. It is not designed to make you successful. It is not designed to help you achieve your goals, build your dreams, or become the best version of yourself. Your brain is designed to do one thing above all else: keep you comfortable, keep you safe, keep you exactly where you are. And that comfort, that addiction to ease, that is the invisible force quietly destroying your potential every single day. To understand why this happens, you need to understand one word: dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical your brain releases when it experiences something pleasurable. It's your brain's reward system, the thing that makes you feel good, feel motivated, feel alive. Sounds like a superpower, right? Here's the brutal problem. Your brain does not care where that dopamine comes from. It doesn't care if it comes from genuine progress, from finishing a hard project, from pushing through a workout, from building something real. And it doesn't care if it comes from mindlessly scrolling your phone for 2 hours. All it knows is, I got the reward. Do that again. So here's what happens every single day. You sit down to do something hard, something that actually matters. And in that moment, before you even start, your brain starts scanning for a faster, easier source of dopamine, and it finds one immediately. Your phone, a notification, a YouTube video, anything that delivers a quick hit of stimulation without requiring effort. And so you grab it, not because you're lazy, not because you don't care, but because your brain just ran its most basic program. Find reward, avoid discomfort. When you pick up your phone instead of doing the work, your brain rewards you. When you avoid a hard task, your brain rewards you. When you procrastinate, delay, distract, your brain rewards you every single time. But real growth, real discipline, real progress toward anything meaningful in your life, that requires delayed rewards. It requires tolerating discomfort now to earn something greater later. And your brain fights that delay with everything it has. That heavy, tired feeling when you try to focus. That restlessness, that voice that says, just 5 more minutes, and then 5 more and 5 more after that. That's not weakness. That's not a character flaw. That is your brain running its oldest, most deeply embedded protection program, keeping you away from discomfort, keeping you stuck. Now here's the part that should genuinely scare you, because this is where it gets dangerous. Every time you give in, every single time you choose comfort over effort, you don't just lose that hour, you do something far more serious. You train your brain to expect the escape. You reinforce the pattern. You make it stronger, more automatic, more deeply wired into who you are. At first, it feels harmless. One skipped workout, one avoided task, one afternoon wasted. I'll do better tomorrow. And tomorrow, you mean it. But tomorrow, the same thing happens. And the day after, and slowly, without realizing it, you aren't just struggling to start anymore. You become skilled at quitting, not all at once, not in one dramatic moment of failure. Slowly, quietly, through 1,000 small decisions that each felt reasonable in the moment, but they compound, they layer, they stack on top of each other like bricks, and they build a version of you that is comfortable with less effort, less discomfort, less than you're actually capable of. And that, not failure, not setbacks, not bad luck, that is the real danger. The danger of slowly, comfortably settling for a smaller life than you were built for. Because failure you can recover from, but the person who has been conditioned by years of avoidance, who no longer even feels the tension between who they are and who they could be, that person is the hardest to wake up because they've stopped believing the gap even exists. So how do you break it? How do you actually escape this pattern when the very brain you're trying to change is the one running the program? It starts with one thing, one single thing that most people never develop. Not motivation, not a perfectly structured morning routine, not a new app or a productivity system, awareness. The moment you catch your brain in the act, the moment you recognize what's happening in real time, something changes. You create distance between the urge and the action. And in that space, that tiny gap between I want to escape and I actually escape, your real power lives. Most people experience the urge to avoid and immediately follow it. They don't even notice it's happening. It's automatic, invisible, instant. But when you start to see it, when you can say, my brain is trying to pull me away right now, you've already won half the battle, because now you have a choice. You can follow the urge, or you can do something different. And here's the key. You don't wait for motivation to arrive before you act. You don't wait until you feel ready, until the conditions are perfect, until the resistance goes away. You act first, even imperfectly, even without confidence, even when everything in you is resisting. Because action, even small imperfect action, cuts through the noise in a way that thinking never can. It shifts your brain from avoidance mode into execution mode. It interrupts the pattern. It proves to your nervous system that discomfort is survivable. And every single time you do that, every time you choose effort over ease, forward movement over comfortable stillness, you are not just completing a task. You are literally rewiring who you are. You are building a different brain, a different identity, a different default. There is no better example of this principle in action than David Goggins. Here is a man who, by his own account, started from rock bottom, overweight, unfulfilled, working a job he hated, living a life completely disconnected from his potential. And instead of waiting for circumstances to change, instead of waiting to feel motivated or confident or ready, he chose something brutal and simple. He decided to face the resistance directly, not ignore it, not try to eliminate it, face it. Goggins doesn't wait for the discomfort to go away before he acts. He doesn't hope that one day discipline will feel easy. He expects the resistance. He plans F or it. He treats that voice in his head, the one telling him to stop, to quit, to take it easy, like an actual opponent, something to be challenged, not obeyed. He calls it the 40% rule. The idea that when your mind tells you you're done, when you feel like you have nothing left, you're actually only at about 40% of your true capacity. The other 60% is locked behind the wall of discomfort that most people refuse to walk through. And the more you walk through that wall, the further back it moves. That is the shift. When discomfort stops being a signal to stop and starts being a signal that you are on the right path, everything changes. When you learn to feel the resistance and move toward it instead of away from it, you start operating in a space that most people never access. You start finding out what you're actually made of. Most people spend their lives running from hard things, from hard conversations, hard workouts, hard work, hard truths. And every time they run, they shrink a little more. They become a little more fragile, a little more dependent on comfort. You choose differently, not because it feels good, but because you understand what it leads to. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. The person you become is not built into big dramatic moments. It's not built in one powerful decision or one massive breakthrough. It's built in the small moments, the ones that happen when no one is watching, when no one will know whether you did it or not, when there is no external pressure, no accountability, no applause, the 5 a.m. workout when you're exhausted and no one would blame you for sleeping in, the hour of focused work when your phone is sitting right there and you could easily pick it up, the decision to stay with a hard problem instead of switching to something easy, or the choice to keep going when stopping would be completely acceptable. Those moments, that's where identity is actually forged. That's where the gap between who you are and who you want to be either closes or grows. Every decision sends a signal to your brain about who you are. Every time you choose effort, you reinforce an identity built on discipline. Every time you choose ease, you reinforce something else. And over weeks and months and years, those signals accumulate into a self-image, into a belief about what you're capable of, into the automatic, unconscious way you respond to challenge. So the question isn't, can I be more disciplined? The question is, what am I telling myself about who I am every single day in the moments that don't seem to matter? The battle was never outside of you. It was never about the right circumstances, the right timing, the right opportunities. It was always in your own mind. Your brain will default to comfort for the rest of your life. That never stops. The resistance doesn't disappear. The urge to take the easier path doesn't go away just because you've committed to doing hard things. If anything, the harder you push, the louder that voice gets. But here's what's different now. You understand the game. You know that the voice telling you to stop is not wisdom. It's wiring. You know that the discomfort you feel before doing something hard is not a warning. It's a threshold. You know that motivation is not something you wait for. It's something you generate through action. And once you understand it, you can beat it. Not by being perfect, Not through some permanent transformation where hard things suddenly become easy, but through decision, repeated daily. In the small moments no one sees, one choice at a time, building a version of you that is no longer held back by the bra. In its oldest, defaults. That's how potential becomes reality. That's how dreamers become doers. That's the difference between spending your whole life thinking about what you're capable of and actually finding out. Your brain is wired for comfort, but you are capable of choosing something greater. Now go prove it. If this hit different, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on notifications. New content drops every week, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today.